Good afternoon, Young Kings. Time for your morning motivation is January 3rd, 2021. So happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Hope everything is going well as you planned. But as I mentioned at the conclusion of the last video, like December 31st to January 1st, that 1 minute doesn't change anything. Like, you got to be intentional about what we're going to do for going forward in this year. So if you liked chocolate ice cream at 11:59 on December 31st, when that clock struck 12, you still liked chocolate ice cream. If you had a problem at 11:59, that problem didn't go away. Now we can try to change our perspective, and that's what's going to be my goal this year. It's not like you can't avoid things happening to you, but you can control your response to things happening to you. So hope everything's been going well this first 3 days. But if you're anything like me, there's been challenging things that have happened even since the new year has started. So although it's not perfect, we're going to begin right where we are. That's the best place to begin. There's so many things I want to get through today, and I doubt I'll be able to get through them all. I don't know. We're going to be on this series for a while. I know I had indicated that the title of this series was going to be World War Me. And unbeknown to me, I didn't know there was a book out called that already. And I'll probably go out there and read it by Jamal Bryant. And in the interest of not stealing intellectual property, I'm going to change it and I'm going to steal something else from somewhere else. So the title, if you probably already seen it because you clicked on it, but in case you just clicked without reading, Operation Restore Lion King. That's going to be the whole campaign that I think I'm going to have the year, unless I get directions or guidance to change and go some other way. And reason is the operation because, like I said, we're going to war with ourselves, and it's going to be Operation Restore Lion King. I've been through a series of different conflicts in my military career. Been in the Army 26 years, Lieutenant Colonel. Been to Kosovo, got a campaign ribbon for going to Kosovo. Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom. So those are large campaign operations that go on. And then in the middle of those, or making up or consisting of those, is a series of different battles. And that's where I'm kind of coming up with Operation Lion King. And I'll get into the name. Might as well just go right into it. As I was driving today, going through the store, trying to figure out how to begin this series and what to begin, The Lion King popped in my head. I mean, it was one of the greatest animated movies ever existed, at least in my mind. I like the Lion King, and then the Chronicles of Narnia. Those are two animated things that are really that really are significant with their messages within the movies or the series. But the Lion King, and I think it was more appropriate because it started off with a vision of Mustafa, the big Lion King. He has stuff together, and I'll get right to the point. We are not Mustafa. We're not there. That's not the point of us being Mustafa. But a lot of us, when we identify the Lion King, we want to be Mustafa. And he was the one that had it together. He ruled the pride and had situation. Everything was bowing down to him because he had supreme authority over that. And while he was going through this process of ruling his kingdom, he had this little son called Simba. And Simba was in his infancy stages. And Mustafa was trying to convey the information to him because one day the kingdom was going to be handed over to him. Newsflash, we're Simba. We're Simba. So as a byproduct of that, some things happened in the movie. Go watch the movie because we're going to be referring back to this Operation Lion King. Mustafa got killed prematurely through some conniving and backstabbing by relatives and stuff of that nature. We may even come back to that. But he died prematurely. So Simba didn't get all the necessary tools needed in order for him to be ruler over the kingdom. And he's still young. He's still immature. He still hasn't developed. He's still kind of a young king. So Simba then goes off and loses his identity, and he gets around, an anteater, a hog, and all this stuff, and he kind of loses who he is and doesn't really figure out his life because he's got the wrong circle around him, and he's not really developing into a lion. He's developing into everything but a lion. He's establishing compassion and understanding of some of the people that's going to be subjected to him. So there's not all negative that came out of that, but he's still not getting the necessary tools needed. And I thought about that. It's like, how many young kings have been thrusted out into this world where they haven't received all the necessary skills and tools they needed to rule their kingdom? Like, maybe it was a father that wasn't there. Maybe your father, was there, but was an absentee and was working all the time. Maybe, whatever case may be, that transfer from Mustafa to Simba, there was a disconnect where that person no longer was able to feed, nurture, mentor, develop, and encourage you to be the man that you needed to be. And you found yourself in situations and circumstances that around people that are not really equipping you to be all that you can be. But there's still a need back in the kingdom for you to become your lion king, for you to become your young king and to rule over that. But there's got to be this training grounds to get you back to where you are. So this Operation Lion King is going to be an attempt for us to go from hanging out and doing whatever we want, just living a Kuna Matata type life, to getting back to ruling and being in our rightful kingship. So that's going to be kind of the series that we go through on this. On my last video, there's a guy, Derek, I think his last name Butler. He asked a question. He got some takeaways from the boundary. And he asked a question about confidence. Who should he put his confidence in? What should he put his confidence in? And I did reply to there. So go back and check it out, the conversation we had on there. By the way, I encourage you, if you have a question on some of these videos, I don't delete questions. There's been a few in the past that went against what something I said. I'm completely transparent. I am going to practice transparency with mindfulness this year, but at the same time, I'm not going to delete comments to quiet people down. But I also want to answer questions, those who are intellectually curious about something I said and want me to go a little deeper in. And I'll try to read them and get back to you either on the comments or in the next video. But he asked a question about who should he put his confidence in? And I told him himself, because he was created in God's image. And by putting confidence in yourself, you're agreeing with God that what God created was good. So, and it got me to thinking about, like, this is kind of where we're going with this Operation Lion King. So an introduction to our first battle. Our first battle is going to be the battle of self-discovery, and kind of hash the battle of self-discovery. This is the Exodus and the cure for our identity crisis. So self-discovery, Exodus, the cure for our identity crisis. So I kind of want to lay a foundation. I'm not sure how far I'm going to get today. We're coming up just under 10 minutes, but I'll get right into the scripture that I want to kind of lay the foundation on. There's two of them, and we're going to come back and we're going to build upon them, because this is something I'm not going to rush. We got all year long. We're going to build. We're going to build this year, King. So the first one is in Genesis. Let's go back to the beginning. Genesis is the beginning. Obviously, Genesis 1:27. And I'll read it. Let me get my glasses together. Before I read this, I'll put this out, and it's not just to be malicious in his tent, because those who are new to this, I am going through this divorce and I am my own lawyer, and I have my first court date tomorrow. And like I said, some things didn't go right since the new year hit. Like December 31st, late that evening, I got the discoveries on what's going to be in the court document papers for Monday. And I'm been doing my research and I'm representing myself. And man, I tell you what, as a black man going into the court system, I am kind of nervous. I am kind of scared. So I'm going to go through the first one, then I'll see how my lawyer perform, and I'm going to do some more studying after this video. But in the discoveries, I realized my ex is asking for alimony of $3,000 a month. Now, my kids are 18 and above, so this is not child support. This is just alimony. We had started the divorce process last year, and then we got back together in February, but then we split up again in March. So when we started the divorce process before, the alimony was set at $1,500. So a attempt to get back together and reconcile things is doubled. Now that your child support has dropped off, it looks like they increased the alimony about double. So it went from $1,500 to $3,000, and it went from me having to pay for 11 years to an undefined amount of years. They said there should be no limit on there. And I'm kind of wondering if they're trying to take advantage of me because I'm representing myself. But, the law in Michigan says that the standard should be about 1/3 of the time. But anyways, let's get back on track. That was my little detour. That goes into some of the things I was saying the new year. Sometimes don't start off right. And Cam, forgive me, we about to go on to another detour. We about to get to the scripture. My mom used to say, we got all year, so, take your time or fast forward the video if you don't want to hear this next one. My mom used to cook black eyed peas going into the new year for good luck for the year. Kind of superstitious or just one of those tradition things that happen. And I decided to cook some black eyed peas myself. So when I did it, I chopped up the onions, the bell pepper, and some garlic, and put it in the pan, sauteed it, got it down to the onions are translucent and stuff of that nature. Then put in the hog, some smoked hog in there to get some flavor. And I figured instead of doing the water, I'm going to add chicken broth in there, and I add my seasoning in there. And I was tasting along the way, and I mean the broth and everything was tasting great. However, as the more it cooked, the fat in the hog rendered down, and it became a little too salty. And then I realized, I put in chicken broth, which has sodium in there. Then I put in a bouillon cube, which had a little more salt, and then I seasoned it. And then the hog had seasoning, so it came out a little salty and a little more done than I wanted it to be. So I ate it, and everybody said it was decent. It wasn't great, but it was decent. And I could have went on with that. So what I decided today to do after dinner yesterday, I threw it all away. I said, this is not how I'm going to start. So I'm cooking it again today, and I'm removing the chicken broth, and I'm actually going to put the water back in there. And I'm actually, instead of the hog, I put turkey in there. May put some bacon bits. Well, I am going to put some bacon, fry up some bacon and put it in there. And I did the same with the peppers and stuff in there. And I say that to say this, although your new year may not have started off exactly right, nobody said you can't start it over again. You don't just have to accept the way things are. If you have failed already this year, get back up and try it again. If you have had something go less than desirable already this year, start again. This is your life. I mean, you are on your own pace. You have your own. Don't let nobody judge you about, hey, that didn't come out right. Do it again. I'm going to eat it again today. So instead of leftovers beans, now I got some fresh ones, and I'm going to do it right. But getting back into this Operation Lion King, in the first battle is going to be the battle of self-discovery, and it's the Exodus, the cure to our identity crisis. So Genesis 1:27. I'm going to read this. It says, God created man in his own image. So that's the first beginning. God is infinite wisdom, and he just sitting, and he created you to mirror him. So he created you in his own image, and the image of God, he created him. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them. God said to them, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it. So right there, this is where we got to get back to. This is our return to coming to subdue our kingdom. We were created in the image of God. That is who we are. We're not God himself. But God dwells within us. When people see us, we're a reflection of the Most High. So sometimes we're in low positions, and this is where we got to get that cure to our identity. So he says, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the sky, over everything living that moves. God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is in the surface in all the earth, and every tree. So God is like, man, like he said, hey, have a fish fry. He gave us every plant, fix you a salad. And then he says every beef. So there's going to be steak, there's shrimp, there's everything for us to really enjoy. God's like, hey, I got you. This is a buffet. I created you in my image. I want you rulers over the sea. So if you want lobster, you can have that. Over the air, if you want, duck or whatever it may be, or, the yard bird, that chicken, we love that yard bird. And then the beast, so you can have steak. Like, we are created to subdue and be over all this. So I'm going to skip down a little bit. And it says, I've given you every green plant for food. And it is so. And then verse 31 says, God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. God saw all that he has made, and behold, it was very good. So back to the comment that I gave Derek, is like, by us believing in ourselves, we're agreeing with God, like, what you created in me is very good. And although some of the things we have done or experienced have been less than good, that doesn't exempt us. Like, the gifts and calling of God are irrevocable. Like, the same potential you have to do good gives you the availability to do something destructive. And this is our time to get it more from the destructive side and into the productive side, to where it's very good. So how are we going to do this? And there's another scripture where I want to talk about the Exodus. Exodus 3. And I know we're coming up on 20 minutes, and I knew I wasn't going to get all the way through this with all these examples. But anyway, we got all year. So Exodus, and this is the mission for Moses. Moses had people in captivity, and God has given him a mission to get his people out of captivity. And I thought it was relevant because just like the Lion King, Operation Lion King, we got to come out of something in order to get to where we're going. There's some people that are depending on us to do that. So in Exodus 3, verse 10, therefore, come now, I will send you to Pharaoh. So God has a mission for us. He's sending us somewhere so that you may bring my people, the sons of Israel, out of Egypt. But Moses said to him, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, that I should bring the sons of Israel out of Egypt? So Moses already is having an identity crisis. He's saying, like, hey, God, who am I? That's Pharaoh. He's a king. But he doesn't recognize the Most High is the ones telling him to do this. So he's asking God a question, because it's an indictment. He doesn't believe he have the skill, the ability, or the strength to do what God is asking him to do. So, and he says, certainly I will be with you, and this shall be a sign that it is for you. Let me reread that. And he says, certainly I will be with you, and this shall be the sign to you that it is I who has sent you. So he's saying, like, hey, like, I'm going to give you a sign, and, I'm going to be with you. I'm not just sending you off by yourself. And that's what we got to understand this year. And I know I fumbled through that a little, but we got to understand, like, we're not alone. We have a God that is there with us. So we got to tap into the Most High, because we were created in his image. And what we don't want to do is give a false image out there that we're less than that. So God is saying, hey, I'm with you. And then he says, let me scroll down. And he said, I'm going to bring you out, so you should worship the God at the mountains. Then Moses said to God, behold, I am going to the son of Israel. I will say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you. Now they may say to me, what is his name? What should I say to them? And God said to Moses, I am who I am. And that is powerful in itself, because God is saying, like, hey, I am who I am. Like, there's no need for me to explain. It's like, this is me. I'm God. And if we are moving into what God created us in his image, we are a version of the I am. So it's about us being. Now, I'm not asking us to be blasphemous and say we're God, but we do have the dwelling of the Most High in us as we were created in this image. And we're going to come back to that. I know that's a little deep to gloss over, so we're going to spend some time on that as we come back. But I do want to get into this. But I do want to get down to the last part when God was telling him about going to Pharaoh. And he's also told him to take a message back to the elders, to his people. And he says, I am indeed concerned about you and what has been done to you in Egypt. Like, Egypt represented their captivity and people being lost and in bondage. And God is sending a messenger back to them saying, hey, I'm aware that you're not operating in the image that I created you. And I got a plan to restore you. I got a plan to bring you out. I'm concerned about you. And God is concerned about us. And we're going to get back there. We got all year. We're going to unpack this, and we're going to come back to that Exodus. So if you got time, read Exodus. So I want to go through a few things that I've written down. I was online today and on an article on Healthline, and it talks about some things for self-discovery. How do we recognize self-discovery? So I went on and I looked up, self-discovery, since we're doing the operation of self-discovery, the Exodus, the cure to our identity crisis. Self-discovery, the process of acquiring insight into one's own character. So we're looking within to find out who we are, not depending on anything external to us, where people are defining us, whether it be your parents, whether it be your status in life, whether it be your education level. We're not looking external. Self-discovery starts with self. Is the ability to acquire within. So throughout this next few weeks, whatever, how long it's going to be, videos, whatever we do for this self-discovery, the battle of self-discovery, I'm going to have to look within. When I started counseling, how I found my counselor was there was a quote on a website, and it said, "He who looks without dreams. He who looks within awakens." So this is definitely a time for a great awakening to happen. And so in order for that awakening to happen, we can't dream by looking outside and what we wish would have happened. We got to be able to look within and be able to get to the art of self-discovery and discovering who we are. As I read in the scripture, like, we were created in God's image. So now it's time for us to show that in our reflection and our attitude and stuff. And this is not an operation, let's get perfect. But there's the element of improvement that will happen. So when you discover things, you want to figure out, like, what are your dreams, and figure out what it is that moves you. What are your personal values? What are your talents? What are your gifts? Like, what are these things that you're good at? Not what people say you're good at, but that really gives you life about doing that. What are your personality traits? Like, for me, I'm a Taurus, and my line and my personality traits kind of align with my sign. And I'm not saying that that's the case for everyone, but me being a Taurus, those are kind of mirroring, like, my personality traits of how I conduct myself. So go through a few of these. It talks about, ask yourself, who am I really? Like, not who you want to be, not who others want you to be, but ask yourself, who am I really? Examining your life. Like, you lived up until this point. Like, what about your life, like, that you really enjoy? What has made you fulfilled? What has made you disappointed? Like, examine your life up into everything you have been through. Put it through the lens of an examination to figure out, like, who am I and where am I going? And then start taking positive steps towards fulfillment, like placing yourself in environments that are conducive to you growing. Like, I put a statement on social media, and recently, this new year, I just deleted Facebook and Instagram again off my phone. I still have it on my iPad, but I wanted it off my phone so I didn't go to it immediately when I was bored. Like, I have to go pick up my iPad and then do it. I didn't want to be on it where I'm out somewhere and I want to check a status or something like that, of that nature. I just wanted to make sure that it was intentional that I got on there, not accidental. So Um, I don't know how I got to that point, but because my stove is going off in there and kind of lost my train of thought. But I deleted it because I want to be intentional. So when we take steps for fulfillment, I'm just going to keep going. So one of the things when you do that, start by visualizing your ideal self. Like, where is it that you really want to go? What if everything was perfect? If you could not fail, what would you do? Like, how would you do it? Like, don't even try to figure out the how. Just visualize. What is the ideal version of you? Like, because if you don't have an ideal of what the ideal version is of you, then you will live your life based on what other people think is the ideal version of you. So you got to make sure that you go through and you identify what it is that you want to do and then what is the ideal. Because if you're not living your life, you will find yourself living trying to please other people and doing what they want to do. So ask your things, and this is part where we're going to end because my stove's going off, and then I've been kind of fumbling on this one. But ask your things like, what do I want from life? Like, what is your goal? What is the end state of you trying to accomplish that? Where do I see myself in 5 to 10 years? What do I regret? You know, you're not perfect. So there's been some things that's been less than desirable in your life. What are some things that you regret? And then what makes me proud? So those are the things that, and I'm going to walk over to do the stove as we do this, and I can kind of give you a peek into my Black Eyed Peas remake, make up for me not doing it right the first time. But anyway, I wish y'all could smell this house. It smells good. It smells good. Just hope that it tastes good as well. So with that self-discovery, we're going to continue on this path, turn off this timer, to make sure that we find out who it is that we are and where we're going. I'll give you a look at that. Let me get this here. Look at that. Still coming. Got a few more hours. Like last time I seasoned it too soon, so I want to make sure that that broth and the fat renders out before I put all my seasoning in there. But path to self-discovery, Operation Self-Discovery. We're going to continue on that to cure the identity crisis, to make sure that we go through and that we get this thing right. So Operation Lion King, watch the Lion King, go back and watch the video, and then we'll continue on this self-discovery journey. Have a great day, Young Kings.